Are always making an impact in the business world, but today we're highlighting some who are making waves right here in the Madison area. Joining me now is Shayna Mace, editorial director of BRAVA magazine, to talk about some of these women in business shaping what's next in Madison and beyond. Shayna, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we want to get right into, first we have Victoria Thomas, who owns a race car business. Sounds pretty cool.
A lot of people may not know that Kelly Moss Racing is based right here in Fitchburg. So that's actually who we photographed for our cover. But they're a company that restore and race Porsches throughout the United States. They made history in 2023. They had the first woman in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America.
Wow.
But currently they have 4 female racers on their team as well. Victoria also makes a very conscious effort in the automotive racing industry to get more women involved in not only race car driving, but in the automotive industry behind the scenes as well.
Okay, that is so cool. So the next woman is a women-owned real estate business development firm. Tell me a little bit about her.
Yeah, so a boutique real estate development firm, which is relatively rare. A lot are still male-owned, but it's called New Year Investments here in Madison, owned by Ann Nujara Morrison, and her sister Sarah also works with her, as does Ann Speakerman, who we photographed in the magazine.
Okay.
But they're working on a major redevelopment project right now in downtown Madison, 10 acres. And they've already developed the Ella Apartments, if you've ever seen that, on kind of the Near East Side, really beautiful mural on the side. They partner with women-owned businesses, tenants in their developments as well.
Okay.
But just we wanted to highlight them because of what they're doing in the city, and this is a major project. It's like over a, I think, to 8 to 10 year span.
Oh wow. Okay. And we might only have time for one more, but women in healthcare, of course, is so important. But including the president of American Family Children's Hospital right here in Madison.
Yeah, Nikki Stafford. So she's president, of the American Family Children's Hospital, VP of UW Health Kids. She's actually leading the effort to build out the unoccupied 6th floor of the hospital. So when the hospital was built in '07, it was left purposely unoccupied. Now we need to build it out because this hospital is the only level 1 pediatric trauma center in Madison. So they're currently turning away patients right now. So this would position Madison as a leader in that industry of pediatric intensive care, and then they can obviously accommodate more patients as well. So also making that ripple effect, which was the theme of our feature. And so we feature many more women beyond these 3 that we talked about today in BRAVA.
I know we only have so much time, right? But it's also interesting and inspiring to hear about women who are doing amazing work in our community. So make sure you check out Women in Business issue of BRAVA magazine. And Shayna, thanks so much for being here today. Delaney?